Hey guys, my name is Andrew from Anzik, and I'm going to run you guys through Trello 101. So why I'm making this video is to show new users how literally powerful Trello can be to help you get more work done. So I've been a Trello user for about 4 years, and the first project I used it on was basically with a developer in South Korea, and it was super helpful. I ended up using it for other things like just managing my day-to-day life and working with other teams, and it's just amazing. So this video is from me to just basically give you a little bit of a quick 101 intro to how Trello works to get you up and running quicker. So the takeaway is I hope that you see how easy Trello is to implement and use and how much of difference it can make in the workflow environment and basically just make everything a lot better. So first thing is, what is Trello? So essentially, I think you might already have an idea, but it's basically just a collaboration and productivity tool. That's about it. As you can see right here, we've got the Trello blog right here. You can see productivity, but there's also workflows and other stuff. So what it does best, I think, is it kind of like helps people work together in an effective way. But the two main reasons that I personally like Trello, like these are my two personal ones. So one is I really feel like Trello like helps keep me like organized and focused on what I really need to do and like what needs to be done. So that basically it helps me get more meaningful work done. And I think everyone knows what you mean by meaningful versus not meaningful work. There's like the busy work that we tell ourselves that it's really important to do this stuff, but you know, in the end, we're not really doing important work. It's not as meaningful. And then there's when you complete tasks that are very important and critical to the success of an organization or company or team or whatever you're working on. So Trello helps you focus in on what that important thing that you need to do to have success is, and it does it in its unique way. The second thing is it helps you work more effectively with others. So if the first one was helping you effectively work better with yourself and focusing yourself on really important tasks, the second one is helping you work together efficiently with other people. So basically it helps by like reducing like misunderstandings, and it also clears up like the need for meetings. So you don't have to kind of keep tabs on like what everyone's doing because you can just see what is happening in real time on the Trello board. So it's pretty awesome. So those are my two main reasons. But if I had to sum it up, Trello is kind of like it's like a to-do list that it's like lives and breathes, and it helps you play well with other people. So it's really good. Highly suggest taking the time to check this out. One of the last things is when you actually use this thing correctly, this might sound ridiculous because it's like a really high number, but I've actually seen these kind of numbers myself, but when you use Trello right, you end up boosting your efficiency by up to like 400%. So it's kind of like getting twice as much done in half the time. So I've worked with teams that we've used this on, and we've just gotten like ridiculous fast speed. Like anyone that I've ever seen that's actually used Trello and actually like given it a chance, they're always like, yeah, this definitely made my workflow better and I got a lot more done. So that's my kind of sales pitch to kind of tell you why and how I like Trello and all that other good stuff. And then we're going to go in and see how simple and easy it actually is. That's actually one of the best benefits I think of Trello, is that it's so easy compared to other workflow stuff. It's so simple. So why would we even need something like this though? Okay, so why can't we just keep having chats on, Discord or Telegram or Slack? Well, chats themselves, they're like one big feed, and it doesn't really show the status of the work clearly, visibly. Things can get lost quite easily, I've found. And so, yes, you need a tool to talk with, so you need a text tool, but you also do need a productivity tool that actually helps you track the status of the work, assign tasks, have discussions that are threaded on that topic, that have attachments. Like you're going to see all this stuff when I show it to you. It's not going to be, that complicated, but it's so good. It's one of those things where it's the simplicity of it is what kind of makes it so brilliant and flexible at the same time. Okay, so that's me. That's enough of me pumping Trello up. Why don't I actually get into it? So this is just the blog here. So if you get interested and want to read more topics and get more information, you can always go here. So just blog.trello.com. Okay, but anyway, so the first thing you want to do is sign up, And yes, again, why do we want to sign up for all these services? It's totally worth it. Trust me, this Trello is awesome. Okay, so that once you get your own username, you need to be part of a team. So you can either create your own team or you can join someone else's team. Chances are probably someone invited you to a team, so you have to kind of like sign up and then you'll be part of their team. So if they invited you, what that means is they're going to be inviting you as a member if they're inviting you to their team, but they might have just invited you to the board. So there's different boards inside a team, and each board kind of has its own topic of information that it's covering. So it could be covering totally different areas of a business or a group. Like one could be for marketing, one could be for coding, one could be for design or whatever. So what you got to do basically is, so why I was talking about those different boards is because you might just be invited to one and not the actual team. So if you look over here on the left side, we have guests and team members. So guests are people that are only invited to a specific board and they don't have the permissions to jump to other boards, whereas team members can see all the boards and basically jump around to different ones. There's also admins and regular members. So the admins control who the members are, and then the regular members are just chilling together. So yeah. Okay, so I created this Tango test team because, I mean, this is just, why make it boring? Let's make it fun. So anyway, so we got boards here. I've got two of these, board of much testing and derp roadmap. So we're going to take a look at both of them right now. So this is the main one that I like to see, to like use Trello for. I find this adds the most value. So it's called basically a workflow status, or it's like a tracking board. So it helps you see work in its state in a visual sense. So let's just jump over there. So inside the board, let's just orient ourselves in case you're new. So up top, we've got back to home and then the list of all your boards. You can even search for stuff through the search bar. And there's a huge list of key commands that Trello has that's super helpful. Like if you hit B, it'll bring up boards and then you can just start typing and easily switch boards quickly. Like when I found that one out, I was like mind blown. I was like, oh my God, this is a game changer. So yeah, there's a lot of really good key commands if you take the time to learn them. Anyway, this is the title of the board here. Then you can star the board. This is the team that basically owns the board. This is the visibility of the board. So we've got team visible, private, or public. So you can actually make your board completely public and have people interact with it. It's pretty sweet. Or you can have it totally private too, or just kind of in the middle. Then over here, you've got your team members. So in this case, I'm all by myself. It's just me. I'm all alone. So yeah, this is just a made up board that I just did in a theoretical sense. So I created this guy who's like a writer. And so I put his kind of workflow stuff on here. So this might look confusing here. So let's kind of dive into it. So the real meat and potatoes of Trello exists with two things. You've got columns and cards. So columns are these things right here. See how I'm picking this up? That's a column. This is a column. This is a column. And so columns exist, and you can even move them across or whatever. Like you can reorganize them. However, usually you're not moving columns because they kind of stay where they are. So columns in this case, the way this Trello board is set up is representing a status of work. You have items that come in, and so see this is an item. So that's all a card is it's just an item. It's like a placeholder for what kind of work you want to do. And then as the work gets done, it moves from left to right. That's it. It just keeps moving through these columns to show the status. So what's powerful about this is that other team members can take a look and see at a glance what's going on with you, or you can see what's going on with them. So everyone gets to be on the same page, and you keep all of the different items kind of put in their own cards so you can have threaded conversations with them. How do you have a threaded conversation, Andrew? Well, if you look inside the Trello, like a card, any of these you can click into, and then boom, now you've got all this information. So you've got labels that the cards can have that has a description right here. So you can add a whole bunch of information that you want everyone to know about the card on this specific thing. So you could have links that are relevant to it or whatever that is important. You just put it in that and you can always save it. It uses markdown formatting as well. You can add checklists. So let's say, you want to track your progress. It's got a nice little animation there. You can add as many items as you want to, which is awesome. And then, of course, you can add comments here. So you can add comments. You can tag people so that they know that you've talked about them. You can even put in attachments. You can get all the emojis. You can even add cards inside your comments, which is pretty sweet too. And then you've got tracking activity. So you can see it tracks every time I move cards around, and obviously I was testing, so there's a whole bunch of activity here. That's not really useful, but anyway. So it tracks when someone's moving and who did it at what time. So it's really helpful to see like who's actually working on this project and who's taking care of this and what's happening. So that's awesome. And then on the sidebar here, we've got all these extra things. So we've got members, labels, checklists, which we already looked at. You can create due dates. I think attachment is pretty self-explanatory. So the two that might be a bit confusing are members. So you can assign other members that are on the board here, and you can assign them on this card. So if I assign myself, boom, now it shows me right there. And if I go back, you'll see that my username is, or my screen, not my screen name, my profile picture is on the card. So you can kind of see at a glance who is taking care of what, which is awesome. Then you also have labels. So this one is checkmarked urgent. We've also got important and stuck and waiting, but you can actually create new labels yourself or like edit existing labels, change the names. So it's pretty awesome. You can have a whole bunch of different labels and it's really, really cool. So these, why they're useful, the labels, is again, you can see at a glance with the color that your team has picked for a certain thing, and you can see right away what that is. So it's really helpful. It's very good for kind of like communicating information. Okay, so next, we've got due dates. So you can select calendars and you can see, like you can pick a time that this needs to be completed by. And then we've got actions. So you can move the cards. So you can move it to a different board, to a different list, or to a different position. So list is also what I call a column. So they call it a list. I like to call it a column because it's, I don't know why. I just like it. Anyway, and then you can change it to a different position. But you can also change it by just dragging and dropping. You can also subscribe to a card's like activity, so you can keep up to date on this one item. So let's say there's something that you really want to keep watch on. You can do that, and you'll get whatever type of notifications you want on it. And then lastly, you can archive, and then you can delete the card, or you can send it back. So you can permanently delete the card, or you can archive it, and then it just disappears and then can come back later. So you can still search for it and stuff. Anyway, so that is some of the stuff that cards can do. So you can see there's a lot of power right there. You can tag, you can put attachments, there's descriptions, there's comments, there's a whole bunch of discussion you can have around it. You can have checklists. So, and that's just the very basics of it. Like one of the things that Trello has is it has power-ups. So if you look over here, that calendar feature, if you click on calendar, this is a power-up, it now shows a calendar view of where these cards are and what their deadlines are. So see, this one was passed, it has a line through it, that was the 20th. So this card has to be done now. Man, I better get working on that second pass of Joe's novel. So anyway, so now that we kind of dove into the card element, let's actually take a bit more of a look here. So how you use this is, let's say you have an idea and you're not sure if you want to do it, so you'd put it in Icebox, maybe do it later. But then once you're sure you want to commit to it, you can drag it and drop it into will do. So then that shows the difference between these two columns is that this one is committed and this one is not committed. So once you have commitment to do this, it's now kind of in the queue. So it's to do this. Then you can start pulling and dragging this over into the working part. So then now you can communicate, yes, now this is being worked on. And then once it's ready to be checked for, any problems, you can then put it over in the QA or checking. So you could have one of your coworkers or someone else you trust to edit or check over what your work has done to see if it's correct. Or if you're just working alone like me, then you can just check it over yourself. But anyways, so once you've done the checking phase, then if it passes and you've realized, oh, I didn't actually make any mistakes, then good. You can put it over to done. Now it's finished. So essentially, there's just really, these four columns: to do, doing, checking, and done. So that's all that's really happening. And then once you're done, you'll probably notice that there's going to be a whole bunch of cards that start stacking up here. And so what a really handy feature is you click on the dots and you can obviously copy and do all this other stuff, but you can also archive all the cards in this specific list. So it's a way you can clean out the board so that it doesn't get overly cluttered over time. So yeah, so the really important part here is that you might notice that we've got these cards, but there's a really important caveat here is you have to pick the right size for the card. So for example, a card is like an item, right, to do something. So it could be as simple as like tie your shoelaces, which is kind of ridiculous. You're not going to create a card to tie your shoelaces. Or on the other extreme, it's like create an orbital class booster rocket. Okay, that's also probably too big because you would never be able to like really track that. Like there's too many other small components, like all of the assembly and sourcing the materials and getting the engineering designs and do a whole bunch of stuff. So it's just too many smaller components making up such a huge card. So what you want to do is break down the size of the card to somewhere between 1 to about maybe 8 or 10 hours of work. So you don't want it to be huge, but you don't want it to be so tiny that it doesn't make any sense to even create a card. There is the exception where, let's say you want to create a reminder to do something that's super important, even if it's just 5 or 10 minutes, then you could create a card for that too. But anyway, so you can create these cards and put them here, and then your other coworkers could pull from them when they are looking for stuff to do. So there's a lot of really cool stuff that you could do with this. Okay, so now on the side, I remember we were talking about the scale of the cards. Well, over here, we can create this is a place for cards to exist in a bigger sense. So like more zoomed out. So that orbital class rocket booster thing, we could put that here as a project. And then we can track all the different projects that are going on in this board. And then we can put them in. So this column here is for overdue projects that are missing their deadline. Here it's completed but missed, and here it's completed on time. So what this allows you to do is actually track whether you're actually hitting your projects on time or are they late. And what that can do is help you get some data on whether you're maybe like overestimating your ability to get things done quickly, or maybe there's a few people on the team who are slowing things down. But essentially it gives you a good check to see, are you actually operating as a team well or not? So it's a good scorecard to measure yourself against. If this column is really big and this one is small, then you're doing a good job. And if it's vice versa, not so good. So it's a great way to objectively track whether you're actually doing good work or not, generally. Like as not so much good work, but work that's on time, which can be very, very, obviously awesome. However, if this like obviously doesn't work for you, you can obviously just ignore this completely. That's why it's all the way on the other side. So you sometimes hear people call these bigger cards epics. And so an epic is, just a really big card. It's something that's going to take some time to do. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. Like Trello itself is very simple, but using it, if you use it, it will give you a lot more benefits. So like if I was going to give any advice, I would say create your own personal Trello board first when you're just starting, and just set it up similar to this. You can just create your own columns and then just label it, and then start using it. I've got one for my own personal use, and I use this just to keep track of all the things like that I'm doing throughout the day or the work week. It could be stuff like pay this bill, mow the grass, pick up groceries, do this project, make this phone call, pay this person, or do whatever. So it really helps you keep on track of stuff. And then you can share that. I can share that with my wife, and then she can see and I can see what's going on. So we can actually collaborate on our household together. So it's pretty awesome. Okay, so anyways, so there's a lot of really cool stuff you can do, but you'll only get the benefit if you actually use it. So Trello's all fine and dandy, and it's awesome, but it only works if you actually use it. So that's why I suggest getting the personal board set up first and then work through this stuff. So yeah, you can add more cards here, you can move them around, and yeah, there you go. So the main thing is don't make your cards too big, don't make them too small. Make them a size where it's going to take you, half a day's work or a day's work to get it done. And then what I like to do is set bigger projects. So you see right here, we've got give presentation at Writers Convention with a due date here. This one is overdue, so it's a pretty high priority task to get that done. And then these ones were missed. So even when this one is completed, it's going to go over here. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. So this is just one way to kind of lay out a board. There's actually another way. There's actually so many ways. So this is what you'd call kind of status tracking, and this creates the right resolution. Like you could have a to-do list where you have to do and done, but the problem is it doesn't give you enough resolution about what's actually going on. So if you showed it to someone else, they wouldn't really know exactly what's happening. They wouldn't know, well, you have got all these things that you're doing, but what are you actually working on right now? So, and then the QA part is a good kind of sanity check to make sure that your work that you're doing is actually good work and you're not just rushing through to get it passed off. Because that's also one of the other downsides too, is if you push too fast and you sacrifice the quality of the work, then that's obviously not good work either. So anyways, okay, so let's take a look at another silly roadmap way that I laid this out. So this is, I created this, it's called derp roadmap, and basically it's just a bunch of sea lions. I think these are sea lions or seals. I think sea lions. They're just derping around, just laying in the sun, just being completely lazy. So I imagine like this is like a game or something, and so there's different releases of software and stuff. So notice that we can reorient the entire board in a completely different way. So now here on the left side, we've got upcoming features. So we've got belly scratching. So co-op mode is enabled. We've got warm sea spray, where sea spray calibrated to correct saline ratio, and QA test for foaminess. No animal testing has been done. Anyway, and then we've got nerf to seagulls, make them quieter. So, and then see this little icon? This is just some stickers. So I'll show you how you can access those as well. Then we've got release version 2.1, and then we've got some release notes here, and then same thing here. We've got more release notes. And then in December, so see, it's showing you the days that they're checking in. And in December, lost release data at Christmas party, and so on and so forth. You can just make as many as you want. You can add another one right there if you want to make more lists. All right, so now it's time for me to show you the right-hand corner of this where all the fun parts are. So we've got this, we've got your profile picture, your notifications, your information, and like creating more boards and stuff like that. So you can take a dive in there, but this is where most of the hard information is. Well, not really hard, but it's like it gets a bit more complicated here. So you can like change your backgrounds, you can add power-ups. So those are those things I was talking about, like the calendar, and they have so many power-ups, like board utilities. They've got all of these. They've got developer tools. They've got file management. They've got HR and operations, like so many different types. Like, so you've got stuff like Evernote or MailChimp that you can plug in. And yeah, it's really, really good. So the thing is though, that this is how they make kind of money, is that they will only give you one free power up per board. However, if you sign up for business class, then you get as many as you want. So that's the upside to it. So yeah, that's kind of like, you can take a look at all of these different power-ups, and they can really add a whole bunch of flexibility and customization and power to the boards to make them even better. So, you know, a board that's set up for marketing or sales or coding can do, you know, use these power-ups in different ways. That's really awesome. These are just fun little stickers, so you can take stickers and throw them on. That's how I made those ones right there. So you've got a whole bunch of stickers there. Not really that useful, but it's fun. And then here you've got the board's actual settings. So you can change permissions and stuff like that. You can have collections. This is a business class upgrade as well. But most of what Trello actually has to offer doesn't really need the business class, which is really nice. Like, you can really use Trello very well without getting the paid upgrade stuff. Then labels, which we looked at before. You can look at your archived items. So if you have archived a bunch of stuff, you can search through it there. And then email to board settings. So you can configure what emails you want or notifications. You can watch the board, copy the board, export the board, close the board, and then link to the board directly. So yeah, there's a lot of options in there. But yeah, that's where the main menu is on this one right there. So yeah, so that is Trello in a nutshell. There's obviously a lot more to learn about it, but like seriously, the beauty of it is it's easy to learn, but it's tough to master because there's so much that you can do with it. As you saw, there's like 2 different examples of these boards, but there's many different more configurations that you could actually go through. So it's pretty awesome. So yeah, lots of integration, lots of power, but essentially the best part is it just makes your work visible. Now you can see what's happening. You can avoid having wasted like work where 2 team members work on the same thing, or just miscommunicate, or one's waiting on another one, or they forget items. Yeah, all of that gets solved when you use Trello properly. So it's an amazing tool, and I highly suggest looking at using it every single day. Set up your own personal Trello board and then get working like this, and just go get in the habit of checking the Trello board and using it a lot, and it will give you a lot back. So much value. All right, thank you. Bye.